We're here with Pat Cooper on the Midnight Show. Only Victerno in the Midnight Show got Pat Cooper. You got the famous Carl Thomas. We had a great show.
Yeah.
And thanks to Fred Kasha. Thanks, Fred. Anyway, Pat, he's a dear friend of mine. We've known each other 20 years. We did acting together. He's going to come into the show in the middle where we're talking, out of nowhere. He's going to walk up to the microphone. He's going to start singing Juan Cantamero. Mr. Cooper, can you give me a shot? Do you like what I'm doing? So he's going to come up here, and I want to just tip you off so you know what's going on. This stuff.
And here we are on the Midnight Show with Victerno, but we have here Pat Cooper.
How are you, Lynn?
I'm good, and you?
Well, I'm old.
You're old? Have you ever seen the...
What was that about? Ain't you handle honesty? I'm old. And when you're old, you got to tell everybody what you are. I'm old. Are you gay? I'm not gay. Are you straight? I'm not straight. What are you? I'm in between. But I'm old.
Have you ever seen the Midnight Show with Victerno?
Yes, I saw it on radar.
Ah.
That's the first time I happened to use my iron to do my pants, and I said, what is that? Oh, it's the Staten Island show. What is the name of the show?
It's the Midnight Show with Victerno.
Is Vic still doing this?
I believe so.
Really?
I think
well,
he's here.
I tell you right now, I heard rumors. He is now going to go as far as the Bronx.
The Bronx.
And after the Bronx, you know, it's a highway and out of town. They're going to be putting him on a stamp. But I hear it's a very, very good show. And Vic, an unknown, is now another unknown. They still don't know who he is. This is why he's on midnight. If he does good, it'll be 4 in the morning for people who got headaches. But it's a great show, and you're smart to be a part of it because you never know. Vic could get hot.
He could.
In the steamer, but not here. He's a good guy. I love the show. It's wonderful, and he's a good guy.
Well, we're glad to have you here tonight.
No, I'm glad you're here because you're the only beautiful one I've seen all day.
Ah, thank you so much.
I swear to you, and you're lucky I have tendencies that I wouldn't want to discuss right now. But you're beautiful, and I thank you for the time.
Ah, thank you.
Okay.
Good to have you.
Got your hair is great, by the way.
Show starting at midnight on Friday.
Have you seen the new Midnight Show with Victerno?
Yeah, I've seen it. It's a great show. It's funny, and they got lots of beautiful women.
Yeah, that's Victerno. The new Midnight Show with Victerno?
Can I see it? It's great. It's funny. They got beautiful women, sexy women. I watch it all the time.
Tonight's special guest star, Mr. Pat Cooper! Mr. Paul Thomas! Mr. Mickey Bird! Mr. Ernie Barry! Now let's welcome the godfather of all late night talk shows, Mr. Victerno!
Okay, now let's get on with the show. I want to thank everybody for coming, and let's get on with our first guest. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Pat Cooper. So let's start the show. Let's get on with the show. I want to thank everybody for coming, and let's get on with our first guest. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Pat Cooper. So let's start the show. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to my first guest, as we already did, Mr. Pat Cooper. Pat, thank you so much for being here. You know, Pat, it's such an honor to have you on the show. Pat told me he was going to do the show, but he wanted $100 grand. I said, sorry, Pat. No, but seriously though, Pat really was a real gentleman. He's got a reputation that precedes itself, and he was very gracious to do my show. Thank you, Pat.
Well, it's my pleasure because right now there's no show for me to do, and after you it's going to be hard. You got to be very careful, never put anything down. Everything is show big because things are difficult now. You're not Johnny Carson, he's gone, thank God, because Johnny never went through the curtain. There's nobody goes through the curtain like you.
Hey,
Very big suave on the Monet. I think it's just different.
Gentlemen, but Pat,
No, this is very, very special. I learned my craft on this island. There's a place called Pat Cucito's and another place called the Miami Club. And I remember the ferry was a nickel.
Wow.
Yes, now it's for nothing.
And they took cars and trucks on it then, Pat, too.
I didn't look for the cars and trucks, I was looking for broads. I was on a ferry looking for the cars and the trucks. A ferry's to get you where you gotta go, and if you happen to meet a nice lady, that's fine. If not, you're stuck. You know, this is an island, they should have never put the bridge here.
You know, ladies and gentlemen, Pat. Ladies and gentlemen, Pat is, you might not know this, but Pat is a Brooklyn guy, which I'm proud of because I'm a Brooklyn guy. And Pat came from a humble background. He comes from a family, I did my homework, of bricklayers. Am I wrong about that, Pat?
Just my father, and my uncle was a longshoreman, and then there were a few gays walking around.
Pat, let me tell you about Pat. Not only that he was a bricklayer, Pat was a furrier at one time.
Yeah.
He worked at this is a regular guy that went up because of his talent, because God blessed him, and he worked hard himself. And he was always a straight shooter. And I don't remember what the saying is, ladies and gentlemen, but Pat had a saying, when you tell the truth and you say things the way it is, you're always going to come out on top. Am I close to what you say?
Well, you don't say the truth just to come on top. You say the truth because it's the right thing to do.
Right, but
That's
I
the right thing to say. And what's going to happen is you're going to make enemies because a lot of people don't want to hear it. And those who don't want to hear it don't want to be in your company. And I came very close to losing my career, people said, when I did what's the one after Johnny Carson? I can't think of his
Jay
name.
Leno?
No, the one after, anyway, the talk show that was on there.
Tom Schneider?
I did Tom Schneider and told Tom Schneider the people I didn't like to work with, and that they took my dignity away, and I refused to let that happen, and everybody thought my career was over. In fact, even my wife, God love her, she said, you know, you jeopardize your career. I said, no. I raised my price 1,000 because controversy breeds money, unfortunately. And you know today, all the controversy today, they're making millions. Look at the Kardashian family. Millions. And all they do is keep putting on plaster and more plaster and more plaster. And everybody's saying, my God, they're making millions. I have the regular body. This is it. I take a shower in the dark because I don't want to see my belly. But you know what's sad? What's wrong with seeing your belly? I mean, what's wrong with being a little heavy? What's wrong with being a little skinny? What the hell are we getting nuts for? Joan Rivers, who's got 4 layers of that stuff, one in my house. And the sad part is you can't cover your heart. That's the sad part. How much can you put on? What happened to this? If you're born a dog, you won't die a cat. You're going to be dead a dog. Don't interrupt when I'm on the roll. I'm trying to help you, but touch my hand one more time. You know what I'm trying to say? If you know, like, you know, there's what's her name, the lovely lady that goes on and very funny. She talks about all the entertainers, and she's making a lot of money. When I mentioned it, they thought I was a threat because big stars look down at you when you're opening the show. I never looked at anybody opening a show. I said, we're co-starring. Why take away a man's, you know, disrespect and say, well, you know, you're my opening act? Why wait until you're drowning? Then all of a sudden I'm in your equal. Then I should jump in the water and save your ass, okay? But today it's different. We put people in categories. I mean, everybody, my father always said, treat a girl like she's your sister.
Yes.
And I never forgot that. Then my father, years later, said to me, don't go see your aunt unless your uncle's there. Hold anybody, Italy.
Now, leads us up to, ladies and gentlemen, I want to ask Pat. Pat, I know you're a Brooklyn guy. What I really want to know, what part of Brooklyn did you grow up in?
South Brooklyn, Red Hook. It's now called Carroll Gardens. Years ago, we never had a tree there. Now all of a sudden, they got a forest.
Okay.
It's a very expensive area to live. I could have bought brownstones for $40,000. I laughed at them. But now all the areas, see, Brooklyn is not Brooklyn like I grew up in. Brooklyn now becomes special. There are big name performers and politicians who are moving here because it's a great place to live. Staten Island's a great place. Manhattan's a great place. This is why New York is the best of all the United States. That's why they fight to come in here. With all due respect, I was in Paris, I was in Italy, I was in there. There's no Brooklyn there, and there's no New York City. There's no, and because we're not in a box here, we're always exciting in New York. Except this show.
I want to ask you the best, Pat. I want to ask Pat, okay, we know he's from Brooklyn. I know his family's from all of the Body, right? They're from Body.
Don't rub it in.
All right. Anyway, I'm Sicilian, but we get along anyway. No, but serious, I get along with the Body as well. But here's the thing. Pat had a very humble beginning, and I mean that sincerely. Pat worked in a diner. He worked as a bricklayer. I believe he worked as a furrier, and many don't know this. Pat was a cab driver, believe it or not. But let's hear from Pat. Pat, tell us a little more.
Best job I had was being a taxi cab driver in the city of New York and Brooklyn and all around.
How long did you do that, Pat?
Because I did it for about, let me see, 21, about 4 or 5 years. But you learn more about life in a taxi cab than any place I ever learned. Because you meet people that are in trouble. You meet people that have nothing, that are happy. You meet people that cry for no reason at all. You meet people that turn around and say, would you drive around the park? I'm lonely. Because loneliness is a difficult thing. I had a great personality. I would tell stories and make them laugh, not knowing that one day I would make a living that way because my family scared me. They said, well, you are a buffoon. You should be ashamed of yourself. And my father always talked that way. That's why we never served him soup. When you have an Italian family that don't know that you have a comedic mind, because in an Italian family, people come from Italy, they came here to make a living. They don't want to know that you have you're funny. There's no time for funny. Get a job. Do something. And I said, don't say it at the table. You don't talk out of place at the table. My father goes, what do you want to do? You want to talk or you want to eat? And I couldn't hear. I used to get dizzy every other day. I was looking at what they mean, what they say. And when they said no, there was no negotiation. It was no.
Right.
And if you don't like it, tough. Now, my father one time said to me, you know, buddy, one day I'm going to go to like a chicken chain. I said, why, Daddy? Because the next day I'm going to kill you. You say that to your kid today, that's child abuse. A policeman, you respected him. He says, move, you moved. Today it's a negotiation. Now they're turning around, they're getting lawyers, they're suing, everybody's suing. Instead of saying, where's the common sense? Common sense is gone. I'll give you an idea. I bought a place in Florida. I figure my grandkids, in case they want to go to college in Florida, they got a place. Nah, that's too easy. My grandkids now, they're ready to Cancun to swim with the dolphins. I says, that's $8,000. I said, how would you like the dolphins to come into your bedroom? So my granddaughter said, do you ever go swim with a fish? I said, yes. Years ago, we filled up a big bathtub, and my father bought a porgy. He put the porgy in the bathtub, and my granddaughter said, what happens? The porgy dies. She goes, well, what did you do? We ate it. And you want to spend $8,000 to aggravate the fish. Stay the hell out of there. Because that's not right. And if you notice, every once in a while, a dolphin bites somebody's finger, a dolphin bites, what the hell are you doing? That poor girl, a lion or a tiger, ate her. Because we're not feeding them. We're going into their jungles, taking their food away. So what are they going to do? They're taking our food, and we'll eat them. And you see, that's too much common sense. You know what Mother Nature said? Don't fool with Mother Nature. And that's a fact. I worry about that. All right, it's your show.
You know, Pat, I wanted to say this. Pat, he got his start early with a gentleman by the name he bumped into, and Pat can elaborate, by the name of Willie Weber.
Right.
And Willie was, everybody knows who the famous Jackie Gleason is, the Honeymooners, the show in Florida or New York. Willie Weber happened to see Pat, and I guess maybe doing a show. I know Pat was working for $10, $20, $30 a show at the time, if I may say so, Pat. And Willie Weber saw Pat, and he was Jackie Gleason's manager, as well as other managers for other people. But he said to Pat, "You're going places. You listen to me. I'm telling you, I know you're going to make it. You got what it takes." And Pat, he said probably, this guy's full of bananas. But then Pat gave him a shot, and next thing he knows, he's on the Jackie Gleason show one day, and the next day he's in Las Vegas a day or two later, he's doing all the major shows. Pat?
But it don't happen that easy. You get a man that you never even heard of comes along and says, "Listen, I used to be very close with Jackie Gleason. You listen to me, you're going to run the Gleason show." I was working on a place in New York. I said to myself, what am I going to do here? I was working with a guy called, some singer, a wonderful guy, Matt Dennis. He wrote Angel Eyes and all that, a wonderful man.
Oh, Angel Eyes, yeah.
And I was getting $100 to do 3 shows a night. 4 Saturday and 3 Sunday.
Wow.
For $100 less 10%, which was $90. Wow. During the day, I was laying brick and had to get, wash up right away and go there, because that $90 clean was part of my salary that I was working. I had 2 children, don't touch me, I had 2 children, and I just wanted to finish it, then I'm going to carry it, then you can take over. But I'm just saying, and this man picked me out for some reason, and I said, well, what have I got to miss and lose? And I owe what I have by that man who's no longer with us. He trusted me, he believed in me, and nobody else did. And I'm not mad at my family. Well, yes, I am mad at my family, because they didn't get it. Because in an Italian family in those days, you were a buffoon. In the Jewish family, another Milton Berle. The difference of culture. And when I got on television, the first thing my father said, "What are you telling people about my business?" I said, "If I told people about your business, you'd be in jail." And didn't get it. And everybody in the neighborhood was going, "Oh, buddy, we love you. You're from the neighborhood." My father thought I was out of order, because from old-fashioned people, you don't talk about them. And they thought I was talking about them. I was saying things about my father made him a genius. And my father believed it. Because my father, when he said no, was no. And I couldn't smoke in the house until I was 21. When my younger sisters came along, they were 13 smoking cigars. And my father wouldn't say nothing, because he says, "I don't hit your sister, because one day she'll become a mother." You want me to hit a mother? Where'd you get that from? That's how they thought. And when I went out with a Japanese girl, my father says, "You treat her like she's your sister." I went with a black girl, "You treat her like she's your sister." And one night I said, "Pa, I'm going out with a Sicilian. Kill her."
Ladies and gentlemen, I just 2 or 3 things I want to mention before we go on to our next guest. But I want to say, Pat, when he first started to go on his first job with Jackie Gleason, he rode in a bread truck with the guy that he worked with in the diner. The guy took him in the bread truck, over to Jackie Gleason's show. Now he goes into the show, and Pat walks inside, and Jackie Gleason's coming down a staircase or out of the doorway, and he sees Pat, and he says to Pat, "You know why you're on my show, Pat?" Pat, am I right? He said, "You know why you're on my show, Pat? You're on my show because you're the best. That's why you're on my show." And you know what? Jackie Gleason saw something in him, because Jackie Gleason was a comedy genius of his own right, Pat, am I right? And he did a lot of things. When he did his show, Jackie Gleason, he did it without any preparation. He did it just as is, as a comedy, as it came along. But he saw something in Pat, which obviously he was right about, because from there, Pat just exploded.
Well, those kind of things, they don't happen to everybody. There are funnier people out there, better actors out there than me. It takes always somebody to spot you or to take a gamble. Because a lot of these big agencies got no time for building you. They already want to know. They already want to know people that making money already. We have no time to take a $20 act and a $30 act. They want to know where's the thousands. And the funny part, the strange part, when I was a bricklayer, I was the worst. I was the worst, the worst, the worst. There are buildings that I worked on, you don't need the stairs. You go on now, the argument is this. This is my argument. Everybody told my father, "But where did you get this guy? He can't look straight." And my father goes, "What's the matter? Why don't you learn to put in a brick?" I become on the Jackie Gleason show. The Bricklayers Union had their annual dinner dance. They paid me $25,000 for 1 hour.
Wow.
And said to everybody, "He's the best bricklayer I ever worked with."
It's unbelievable. I got to tell you this one last anecdote before we go on to our next guest, which was a good friend also of Pat. Pat, you may realize he's done a lot of shows, TV shows, he's done radio shows, but there's one thing I want to mention. He did 2 movies with Robert De Niro.
Oh, yeah.
Recently. Analyze this, small-time movies that nobody ever heard of. Analyze this, analyze that.
Accident.
Yeah.
All right?
Accident.
And Pat doesn't do these.
He says anything I say, this guy.
He doesn't do anything he doesn't want to do. And he'll let you know it. So De Niro, Mr. De Niro, out of respect to him, Robert De Niro, is in a scene with him. Now, I'm in the Screen Actors Guild 20 years. I got in the hard way from the beginning. Waivers, having potato soup in the street in the cold and 30 degrees. But he was with a guy at a bar, at a scene, in a bar in the movie, Pat. And the guy is a nobody. He didn't have any card, sad card. So he says to Pat, with De Niro there, who wasn't there at the moment, he goes, "Mr. Cooper, maybe I could get a line so I could, get my card." So Pat says, "Listen, you want a drink?" So the guy says the scene starts, action, the director says, Robert De Niro sitting there, standing there, and the guy goes, "Mr. De Niro, would you like a drink?" All of a sudden the director says, "Cut, hold it, stop." So Pat jumped in because he knew the guy was going to get in trouble. And he goes, "Wait a minute, I told the guy I want to give him a line, give him a shot." Robert De Niro is right there with Pat. And he's standing next to Pat, just watching Pat go to town. And Pat goes to Robert De Niro. This is Pat, Brooklyn guy. He goes, "Come on, Rob. Don't you want to let the guy give him a shot, right?" Robert De Niro says, "Yeah, why not?" And he got the guy a SAG card to be right into the union. Is that something? That's a
But you see, that's not what it's about. Robert De Niro was one of the greatest actors.
Absolutely.
And to walk in, I refuse to walk in like humble and say, "Hello, Mr. De Niro." The minute I met him, I said, "Bobby, it's about time, Bobby." The godfather, the godmother, I'm waiting in a corner, come on. And I made him laugh, but he was uptight because nobody ever did that to him. I called him Bobby. And then a couple of the other actors, who were a little bit spruced up, they went, "Why don't you call him Mr. De Niro?" I says, "I don't call my father Mr. Father. He's a nice man. I want to do it nice. I want everybody." And I made the man laugh, and I was the clown on the set. I wasn't trying to take anything away from anybody. And we became friends. And I told my wife, this is the last time I will work with Robert De Niro. Not because he don't like me, he can't handle it. Because I was doing things, I would go over to him and start kidding him and teasing him and keeping everybody alive. And everybody got a little angry at me because I had that nerve to go over and talk to him like he was my friend. And that was the story, and he told it.
That's right. And ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say one last thing because we're going to move on to our next guest who's going to sing a song for us after I introduce him. But I want to just say one last thing. The people that this man has worked with, Frank Sinatra, we'll talk about that before the end of the show. I want to ask him what happened with Frank Sinatra. But Martin and Lewis, who wrote the prelude to Pat Cooper's book. Am I right? Jerry Lewis wrote the prelude. And he's worked with Sammy Davis Jr. He worked with Bobby Darin. Tony Martin, Jimmy Roselli, he did something on Broadway. It's amazing. But in the meantime, we have to move on because the show, we're running a little late now. I'd like to introduce you to another gentleman. I want to have a nice round of applause for him too. He's going to sing a song for us. He's a famous guy. His name is Mr. Carl Thomas. Can we have a round of applause for Carl Thomas, please?
Oh, Mr. Cooper, you think you can help me out in the business? I got a song for you.
My friend Harry Taco.
Yeah.
How are you?
Spanish song that I was just told about. I came here to play a leprechaun, but they got me wearing this getup.
Security, do me a favor. Security, come. What is this guy? Security, come in here. Joe, Mike. Will you do me a favor and get this guy out of here?
We'll take care of it.
How can it be so easy and free? How can it be so easy and free? Take me to this place where I belong. Take me to this place where I can get along. Riding the wave on top of the world. Riding the wave in this lonely world. How can it be so easy and free? How can it be so easy and free? If you don't believe, then you can't see. If you can't see, then you won't believe. I won't let my dreams go away. I'll get it back another day. How
Yeah.
We got Gary here. Come on, Gary, get in here. We got Gary from Profiles with Mickey Burns.
Smile, everybody.
We got everybody here. We got a whole bunch of people today.
Got it.
Beautiful.
That's a good one.
Mel, come on in here, Mel.
Gary.
Thanks for coming.
Stay here.
Oh, you got someone.
All right.
Did you join the show? Okay. Mel, come on this one over here. Come here, Mel.
There we go. Get in there, Mom. There
We
you
got
go.
some shots with Mel.
All right,
Fred.
smile.
My friend Susan Levine and my friend Mel Benedicto.
Okay.
We got the whole crew here.
That's
Everyone's
it.
here tonight.
That's it.
That's it. Camera's going to the end.
We got Joanna Ziemba here. James Long.
Wait, I got
James Young. I'm in good shape, James. I'm in good shape.
All right.
We got James Young.
Sorry.
Okay, sure, no problem. Okay. Everybody over this way. Okay, over here. Everybody.
Mickey Burns is with me
Smile.
from Profiles. Wow.
Beautiful.
We're gonna get Ernie Barry in here. Where's Pat Cooper?
He's,
He's coming back.
I think Pat's at the buffet.
Bernie's coming in.
Yeah, he's coming. Alan.
Got a
We
wide
got
angle.
everybody here tonight.
All right,
What a
ready?
fabulous show.
Beautiful.
All right, Jimmy DeSola. Come on in, Jimmy. We get Jimmy DeSola in here. Jimmy, come right in.
Gary, give me a muscle.
Ready?
Show.
Okay. All right.
Ready?
Nice.
Okay, here you go.
There we go.
go in.
We didn't get it.
Guys, go in.
Get ready to
Full car, what are you ready?
Say it again. Go ahead.
Don't worry.
I know when you get what you're getting. Come on, Gary.
Get legs.
Come on, Gary.
Look at that.
Come on, Gary. Can I get in here too after you get one shot? I want to get one. Gary, you taking one?
Yeah.